I started from the trap, now I rap. No matter where I'm at, I got crack. This is Mark Bell from SuperTraining.tv, Super Training Gym, the strongest gym in the West. Answering more questions today for The Power Project, brought to you by HowMuchYouBench.net, The Slingshot, and the only freaking strength magazine in the world, ThePowerMagazine.com. Speaking of the Slingshot, I'm sitting here at a table full of new Slingshot products that I can't show you quite yet, and I can't really talk about, but just know that there's some new shit on the way. Booyah. Let's get to these questions for the Power Project. This question is from Chad Hartman. He has a question about losing body fat from CarbNite. We also have another question about deadlifting, and we have another question that I'll get to in a little bit about the shoulder, having a shoulder injury. This guy says he's 6'4". He was about 290 pounds. Now he's 269. He's lost some weight from following CarbNite. Let's see here. He says he is down about 22 pounds, and the weight loss has slowed down quite a bit. So he wants to know what to do about that. He also mentions here that he's doing a little bit of cardio. He mentions he's taking in about 150 grams of fat, 140 to 150 grams of fat per day with about 300 grams of protein. I would suggest that you bring that fat content up a little bit more. Try to use coconut oil to achieve this, or straight MCT oil, or fish oil, or even fattier grass-fed beef. The reason why I say that is I think this will trigger you to burn more fat. It'll trigger your body to get into ketosis a little faster. It should trigger you into burning up your body's own fat sources. Now, having said that, also realize that everyone's results are different. You did lose 22 pounds, but it took you a few weeks, maybe a little bit longer than some others, and you said the progress has slowed quite a bit. So there are some things to consider here. Increasing the fat and having the protein stay about the same would be suggestion number one. Suggestion number two would be to switch up the style of cardio that you do. You said that you do it 2 to 3 times a week for 30-40 minutes. So I would change up that style of cardio and try to switch to a more interval style of cardio. You want to learn more about that, you can look that up at dangerouslyhardcore.com from John Kiefer's website, the inventor of CarbNite and carb backloading. Also, in addition, you may just need to take a week or two off, probably 1 week off of this particular diet, CarbNite, and you may want to switch to carb backloading and introduce some carbs. Sometimes when you decrease the amount of carbohydrates that you take in too much, too often, for too long, it will slow down your metabolism. A little bit of carbohydrates can actually help you burn fat. I think sometimes with these recommendations and these suggestions that people all of a sudden start to think that carbohydrates are bad and that carbohydrates make you fat. Well, nobody ever really got fat from eating a banana. People get fat from eating ice cream. People get fat from eating French fries. People get fat from developing bad habits and being giant fat fucks. Right? There, I said it. And activity levels sometimes is too low, but that's not the case with yourself. You're in there training hard, but some small tweaks might help you, so let's work on that. Trying to think of anything else. Just, go over in your head and make sure that there's no products that you're consuming that have more carbohydrates than you're aware of. Also, make sure you implement some sort of post-workout nutrition. Try to get in a lot of branched-chain amino acids. You can do that through a few different ways. You can take branched-chain amino acids capsules, which you kind of have to take a lot of them. It's unfortunate. The doorbell's ringing, but I ain't getting it. I'm doing the Shooting Power Project. Quinn will get it. Let's see what she does. Here she comes. Whoop. Must have been the mailman. Anyway, let's get back to this this question here. So anyway, those are my recommendations to you. Take a week off. Try some of the recommendations I said. Then, if those aren't working so well, take a week off from the diet. Try carb backloading on your training days, and eat some carbohydrates post-workout. and then migrate back into CarbNite. You also might need to realize that you might need to, at some point, and now is probably the point where you need to start to eat less. Sometimes I talk to people that follow CarbNite and they're like, dude, I love it. I ate 8 eggs, 4 slices of bacon, some ham, and some sausage, and that's their breakfast. It's like, whoa, dude, that's a lot of fat. That's a lot of calories. And that's not really what we're talking about when we're talking about dieting per se. For myself, I only eat like 2 or 3 eggs at a time. Sounds insane, but that's the truth. I have taught myself to eat less, and it has been effective for me. And you also mentioned here that you've made a lot of progress in your deadlift. So let's show everybody that that deadlift. He said he went from a 625, or I believe a sloppy, he said sloppy 635, to now, let's see what kind of weights he's pushing around now. Full screen it. Booyah. Babushki. This is 705 here. Front view of 705. Boom. Very strong. Form looks pretty good to me. And now, after getting about a 70-pound PR, he goes for monster PR. Gets nearly a 90-pound increase in his deadlift. 725 pounds. Raw. Extremely impressive. Got one more view to show you, but that is fantastic. Nice work. Let's check it out. What I loved about that is he had a few opportunities to go for the old hitcheroo, and he avoided it by leaning back and using his butt and just using his body weight to lean back, continue to drive his head back, drive his chest up, drive his hips forward, and he was able to still complete that lift. So congratulations to you on that enormous PR. Okay, we got 2 other questions to get to. I'm already running out of time because I'm a blabbermouth. We got one guy who had a shoulder injury. He wants to know if he can still continue to pursue powerlifting. If I knew anybody who has torn their labrum and has continued to be successful at powerlifting. Yes, the answer is yes. I know a lot of people. Don't feel sorry for yourself. Write down 5 things that you can do. Focus on the shit that you can do, and don't focus on the things that you can't do. Focus in on the things that you can do, and don't worry about the stuff that you can't do for now. Over a period of time, you should be able to do those things that you can't do. The Slingshot, my product, the Slingshot from HowMuchYouBench.net, would be a great piece to look into. Many people I know that have had shoulder injuries, shoulder surgery, shoulder tears, pec tears, can now use the Slingshot. Brandon Lilly, who is the inventor of the Cube method, he's now using the Slingshot in his rehab. For his next meet, he's successfully benched 573 raw, but he feels he tore some stuff up in his shoulder, and he needs to start to rehabilitate that shoulder, and he feels a Slingshot is the best way to do so. So order a Slingshot. I'd start with the reactive one, the blue one. That's a great base to always start with, and you can get that from HowMuchYouBench.net. The other question we have here, we have a yanker. We've got someone yanking it on the internet. How weird is that? He said he finds himself yanking the bar, jerking even worse. He's having a hard time learning how to stay tight, and he feels that it's necessary for him to yank the bar, otherwise he feels weak. There's some different degrees of yankage here that we can talk about here for a second, but there's also one of the main reasons why you don't want to yank the bar is you don't want to yank yourself out of position. You don't want to yank yourself out of position. If you can yank the bar a little bit and maintain positioning and not round your lower back, then you're okay. If there's excessive rounding and shaking and you're not getting your glutes into the lift anymore, or you're pushing the weights away from you and things like that, that's when it becomes a big issue. You can also yank the bar out of your hand and lose your grip, as I did on my second attempt deadlift in the last meet. I went to yank on the bar because I was in a bad position to begin with. That's often the case. A lot of times you yank the bar because you're in a bad position to begin with, and I yanked it right out of my hand, and I had to come back and get it on my third, and when I did it on my third, I smashed it. It's an easy lift. Some people that yank the bar, Stan Efferding, Konstantinov, some of these guys, it looks like a yank, but if you really watch what they're doing, they're getting a good pull, they're getting a good torque, they're getting extremely tight before they yank that barbell. Some suggestions for you. Don't make yourself weaker while you're doing these lifts. Just because I'm telling you one thing, you go and try something, it's not working, doesn't feel effective for you. Try to take what I'm saying, try to apply it to yourself and make it your own. Because if you just try to do exactly what I'm saying, it probably won't work. You're probably too uncomfortable with it. So take what I'm saying and take what you know and what feels good to you and blend the two together. And that should help a lot. So try not to yank on the bar. Try to do repetition work in the deadlift. Sets of 3, sets of 5, sets of 6. Stay tight throughout the range of motion. Don't bounce the weights off the ground. Don't try to slam the weights off the ground. Nice controlled descent. Stay tight. When it's time to explode back up, the weights have dissipated onto the ground a little bit, then explode back up. Work on that with lighter weights. Somewhere in the 70 to 80% range. Work on that for now with those weights, and that should help tremendously. Also, a little bit of training against some bands, a little bit of training against some chains would help as well, especially. Bands are a little bit easier to do repetitions against, so if you have a way, you can just stand on the bands. You can look that up here at roguefitness.com, where I showed an example of how to stand on bands for deadlifting. But deadlifting against some bandage for sets of 5 or sets of 6 would be very beneficial to you as well. Keep in mind that when you're working on your form, one of the main reasons is not injury prevention. Injury prevention has never been enough for anybody to do anything, because no one cares about getting hurt until they already get hurt. That's the only time people care about injury and injury prevention, how they could have prevented it. They only care after the fact, right? So the main reason why you want to have better form is for continued success, continued progress over a long period of time, and also for recovery purposes. If your form is better on your deadlifts or your squats or your bench, and you breeze right through it, and you had no hiccups in your form, you're going to recover from that workout that much more easier-ist. Strength is never a weakness, and that is it from supertraining.tv.